Hello, everybody. Good morning, and this is Gandora Gaming, and I'm bringing you guys my Exosister deck profile. Now, funny enough, this deck profile took a while. Not getting Marfa. Funny enough, that was actually the easiest part. The other harder part was actually finding another Exosister Magnifica. It was actually kind of hard. I only had one copy because I thought you only need one, but then they started playing two, and I was like, crap, you need two. So I ended up having to find another one and trade it for a Starlight and a couple other cards. But that's a long story. I got my value worth it. The card's like $90 now, the Starlight, and I got like $100 worth of value, so it worked out. And yeah, let's get into it. So Exosisters are basically Gravekeepers 2.0, and then when it comes to the meta, everyone speculated that this deck is literally the what's it called? Not the Exosisters, because that's what they are. The evil swarms of this format. Basically, it's a good counter to both other decks, and the other two decks are far superior than this deck, but because of how its niche is, it can do well against them. Basically, it's good against tier, and that's about it. But yeah, Exosisters are a really cool, interesting graveyard-heavy stun deck. This deck says, we make XYZs and we hate graveyards. Beware. Their whole gimmick is that they're Ghostbusters. I think MBT refers to them as the lesbian Ghostbusters or something like that. But let's just get into it. First things first, you play 3 Marfa. Why did you say that name? Marfa's really the linchpin of this whole archetype. She was the new card that came out of Power the Elements. It's just a really strong card. Exosister Marfa, like I said, is the linchpin of this deck. And basically, she has the ability to, if you control only XYZs or you control the cards, you can special summon her from the hand. And then, basically, she special summons Exosister Elsa, or Ellis, which is this one, from the deck. And anytime your opponent activates a card effect Engrave, basically these guys trigger to then stack an XYZ on them. It can only use each effect once per turn. This card is amazing. It's a free rank 4 that the deck desperately needed, because as we go into the Exosisters, there's only like 3 playable ones, and the other 2 are alright. And Marfa is definitely the linchpin. She's how you make an XYZ first turn. She's how you get multiple advantage on the field. It's how you set up your traps. It's just a very strong card. And like you said in the clip, why the fuck did you say that name? Because now she's here. Also, she probably has one of the best artworks when it comes to the Exosisters. She's just walking in the city. I don't know why the city's empty. Got that whole, I guess it's a ghost town vibe. Not really sure there, but it's a very beautiful card. And I bought them when they were stupid. I bought her, she was 35, and now she's like 16. So I kind of fucked that one up. But hey, I wanted to build this deck, and I guess I paid the price for it. Anyway, next thing's next. We play 3 Exosister Ellis. She's the other important card in this deck. Ellis basically says, if you control an Exosister monster, you can pay 800, I believe, special summon her onto the field. Or I might be mixing up her effects. But basically, she's a free special summon if you control an Exosister. And then she also shares the effect with all the Exosisters. But if your opponent activates a card Engrave, you can just stack an XYZ on top of them. And you can only use each effect once a turn. It's a very strong card. It's just really good. So, Ellis basically says, hey, I'm an extender. I'm going to keep going. And you can't stop me. You can target one XYZ. This controls the material. This card is really strong. You gain 800 life points. I'm mistaken the effect. So this card allows you to gain 800, and the other one, I think you pay 8 in order to do something. So you gain 800. It's a free special summon. You have to play her. They all have the cool effect, like I said. They go to XYZ, so that's really interesting. And it's just overall a really strong card. Next we play 3 Stella, the Exosister. She is another amazing card. These 9 are the core part of your deck. Stella is a really cool card. I believe she draws one when she's special summoned. Basically, during the main phase, you special summon 1 Exosister monster from your hand. If you control an Exosister Ellis. So they all revolve around Ellis. Their whole gimmick is that basically If you control Ellis, you can do things. Marfa spider summons Ellis. Stella basically spider summons the Exosister monster from your hand if you control an Ellis. Just really, really important. And then you gain 800 life points. I might be mistaking the punks, because I know punks pay 8. These cards gain 8, which is pretty interesting. It also has the effect where, like all the other monsters, you can special summon it if you XOZ right on top of them, if your opponent activates a monster from the grave, or any card from the grave, for that matter. They move it, which is really, really strong. And the XYZs are very graveyard-hating cards, so I can't wait to show you guys. Next, we play 2 Sophia. I think this is kind of surprising. Every list I've seen, you play 2 or 1 of her, and I think that's crazy. I think 2's fine. When I originally played this deck, it was 3, 3, 3, 3, and a 3 Irene too, but only 2 Sophia, sadly. Sophia is the weaker of the bunch, but not the weakest. We'll get into that. Sophie, I was just getting an effects mix. I thought Stella was the one, or I thought Ellis was the one that draws you one. So Sophie basically says if you control an Exosister monster, you can just draw 1, gain 800, which is really, really nice. And she doesn't have an easy way of extending herself onto the field, so that is why she is a 2 of. And then finally we play 1 Irene. Irene is the worst of the bunch. She's very average. Basically what her effect is, you can place 1 Exorcism card from your hand or the bottom of the deck, then draw 1, and then she has the same effect where you gain 800 life points, and if your opponent moves a card from their grave, or either grave, you just spell summon an Exorcism on top of her. You'll use the effect once per turn. So these 3 are the iffy ones, but these 9 are crucial for the archetype. They're really important. Honestly, Exosisters just need another main deck monster, and this deck is set to be tiering. They only needed this girl to become literally the 3rd best deck in people's opinion. Now they just need another monster to push them over the edge. These 3 are average. If you asked an Exosisters player, they probably would cut these 3 if they had another better option. But you definitely have to place Ellis, because the whole deck revolves around Ellis. You gotta play 3 Stella, and you definitely gotta play 3 Marfa. And that is it for the monster lineup when it comes to the Exosisters. Now it's time to go to the hand traps, which I think there's as many hand traps in this deck as there are monsters, which is kind of crazy. So after we finish the Exosisters, now we go on to the hand traps. So like I said, I think there's as many hand traps as there are literally monsters, which is funny. We play 3 Dimensional Shifter. It's the only deck out of 2 decks in this format I can actually play this card. The other one being Flunderies. And this card basically says, hey, if you have no cards in your graveyard, send this card to grave. Quick effect. Both players will banish every card from their graveyard for the next 2 turns. This card is stupid. Basically, this thing says, screw you, tier element. I'm the 2nd best deck in this format. And this card can really say something. If you go against tier, they're kind of losing. If you go against any graveyard central deck, they're not playing through this. Punks, they need their graveyard to do things. Their whole point of that deck is to make fucking Chaos Ruler. What is Chaos Ruler going to do if you banish 5? This card literally does stick on them. The only issue is drawing it turn 3 or 4. It's garbage. It is probably the most hit or miss hand trap, because unlike Gamma, unlike Ash, unlike Veiler, this card literally says you gotta do it, literally start main phase 1, you have to draw this card. And if you don't, it just kinda sucks. Next we play 3 Ash Blossom of Joyous Spring. We all know what Ash does. They're trying to add, send, anything that reveals the deck. You just say, nah, bruh, we're just gonna negate that. Really, really strong card. We really hate graveyards, so we also play 3 Ghost Bell. Honestly, I would cut either Ghost Bell or Veiler, which is the final of the monster hand traps. For if I owned them, I would play Prosperity. I personally do not own Prosperity, so Veiler and Ghost Bell have to do. We just play literally 15 hand traps in this deck, which is nuts. That's more monsters than we do actual hand traps, which is crazy. Personally, I'd probably cut the Veilers or the Ghost Bell. We already hate Graves so much, we probably would cut the Ghost Bells and then put in Prosperity. But I do not own Prosperity. It's a very expensive card. This deck's already kind of expensive, not gonna lie. Luckily, I bought this deck when it was cheap as dirt. The only thing I spent on this deck was Marfa, because I was an idiot and I didn't want to wait. I bought it at pre-sale. I think it was like the last day of pre-sale, so I just figured it was going to stay at 30 range. And it did not, as we can see. And yeah, that is it for the monster hand traps. You still play 3 Imperm, because Imperm's Imperm. And yeah, that is it for the hand trap lineup. 15 in total. We probably would play 12, and like I said, Prosperity if we could. That's probably the only good pot card you can play in this deck. You can't play Desires because you'll risk our main deck. You can't play Extravagance because you'll risk the extra deck. And yeah, you just have to play it like this. It's just a really, really very heavy hand trap lineup. And that's what Exosisters needs. They only have 12 playable monsters. You don't want to play 3 Sophia. You definitely don't want to play 3 Irene. So yeah, that's about it. It's time to go into the traps. I don't usually go spells and traps, but since our last hand trap we mentioned is literally Imperm, I might as well just go into the traps, and then we'll go into the spells. Alright? Time to go into the traps. Alright, so we just finished our hand trap lineup. Let's talk about the traps. We already referred to the 3 Imperm, but now it's time to mention Exosister Venus. Venus is a very powerful card that we want to set off our Exosister XYZ. And basically what this card does is that basically you special summon 2 Exosisters from your extra deck, for your deck, onto the field, but then shuffle back into the deck at the end of the turn. This card is really, really stupid. Basically, not only is it a free rank 4 on your turn, but on your opponent's turn, it's literally 2 interruptions. You're going to summon 2 XYZs on your opponent's turn, and those 2 XYZs is going to floodgate them out of the game. This card is very, very good. If you go first, which is like what's to do, you want to basically make an XYZ, set this card onto your field, have a whole bunch of hand traps, and then just beat your opponent with advantage. This deck is a very, very strong when it comes to advantage. It's very control heavy, and it's very graveyard centered. It really just wants to stop your grave. This card is a very, very, very powerful card. Like I said, it just special summons 2 for the extra deck. They do have to mention each other though, so that is important. So whatever you summon, whatever one you summon, it has to mention the other. So you're always going to summon Ellis, I believe, because Ellis is mentioned on the other Exosisters. So your whole gimmick is that you special summon 1 Exosister, and then you special summon Ellis with it, and then you XYZ into 2 XYZs on your opponent's turn, which is really, really nuts. Next, we played 3 Exosister Returnia. This is a new card out of Power the Elements, and it's a pretty, really good card. And it's another interruption, which is strong. I believe it's a quick effect banish, but I just gotta double check the effect. All monsters you control that are Exosisters minimum 1 pay 800. So this one costs you life points. I think the trap cards pay life, while the main deck monsters give you life, which is interesting. And basically what they do is you target 1 card your opponent controls or in their graveyard, banish it, then apply this effects. Immediately after this card resolves, XYZ 1 Exosister XYZ using this card, using monsters you control. If an XYZ monster does this turn, banish 1 card your opponent controls. So basically it has 2 effects which are really, really good. First effect says, hey, you can banish 1 card your opponent controls and then XYZ, or you can banish 1 card they control and then you can banish another card they control, which is really, really strong. This card is basically double banish, and it's just a very, very strong card. It's also a free XYZ, which is also really, really strong. And that is it for the traps. It's time to go into the spells. Now, funny enough, I have a funny story when it comes to the spells, which I can't wait to get into. Alright, so now it's time to tell you my funny story. So, Pax and me have a funny relationship. This card, I think, is like $20 right now. I got this card for $1. All 3 of these. So this kind of makes up for the whole Marfa debacle. Back when Exosisters first came out, this card is dirt cheap. I even had these collector's rare packs, and I probably sold that thing for like $50 at the time. But Pax is the linchpin in this deck. I definitely made my money when it comes to buying the XYZs and everything else in the deck cheap. I kind of just messed up on the Marfas. But the whole point of Pax, I'm going into my stories because I actually have a lot of stories with Exosisters outside of actually playing the deck. But Pax is a very, very strong card. Basically what it does is that you pay 8, so all the spells and traps, you pay 8 life points to do their effects, so all the monsters give you life points. But Exosister Pax is you pay 800, add an Exosister from your deck to your hand, and then if you control an Exosister that mentions that card on the field, you special summon it onto the field. This is really, really good. And it's just a really, really strong card. If you're just trying to search Marfa, Marfa is already a free special summon, so that's amazing. And if you're trying to search Ellis, well, there's already 2 monsters in the deck that mention Ellis. So if you have Marfa on the field, you can search Ellis. Ellis gets a free summon, you're good to go. And this card is just a really, really strong card. You can only use once per turn, but it's a quick effect. So you can just chain this on your opponent's turn and just keep spamming out monsters that float into XYZs, which is really, really strong. Next we play 1 Exosister Armament. This card is really cool. It's kind of like our, I talked about it in the Sword Soul deck profile. I didn't have the card, but it's basically our Dragon Cycle, or Tiggy Cycle. Basically what this card does, if your opponent activates a card effect that targets well, not targets, but it's a quick effect XYZ on a Exosister you control. The whole design is that if they're trying to activate Exosister, they try to negate it or something, you can chain this card and then make it XYZ anyway, so it dodges targeting, which is really, really good. And basically this is a really, really strong card, and you play as a 1-of. I think the original build you play 3 of because there's so little Exosister cards, but it's a decent 1-of. It helps you dodge stuff. A really, really strong card. Next you play 1 Exosister, I don't know how to pronounce that. Cappy Medivh? In the comments, someone will tell me how to do it. But basically, this card is kind of cracked. Basically, it has 3 effects, and all 3 are pretty solid. First effect is, all Exosister monsters are untargetable by card effects by monsters that are special summoned for the graveyard, which you think isn't that a lot, but there's actually a lot of monsters that come out from the grave. For example, Fairy Tale Snow is a very strong card in this format. And basically this card shits on that card because they can't target monsters you control that were special from the grave, which is really, really good. It also has the effect where you can, if you control an Exosister card during your turn, you can declare a name or level or a name of a card, and that card can't be activated this turn, which is really, really stupid. And basically what you can do is, let's say they have a floodgate on the field that's really stopping you from playing. You can just declare the floodgate with this card and basically negate that floodgate until the end of the turn, which is nice. You can also declare monsters. You can declare anything. It's just a really, really strong card. And then the third effect is when an Exosystem destroys a monster by battle, you get to pop a spell trap your opponent controls, which is really, really good. So you can declare the floodgate is negated, and then you can use this card to pop the floodgate. This is really, really good in archetype removal for really annoying cards. If you go against Flunder, you can literally call their trap card, or you can call their field spell, be like, aha, now you can't activate this turn, and you lose. No, they probably just cheated, but who cares? You're making it force it now. Next, you play 1 Harpy's Feather Duster for more back row removal, and finally, 1 Call by the Grave that rounds out the main deck. And that is it for Exosisters. It's time to go into the extra deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile so far. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright everybody, it's time for the final part, the extra deck. The whole thing that makes this deck work. Without the extra deck, Exosisters literally do nothing, which is crucial because it is an XYZ focused archetype. But Exosisters, like I said, their whole point is they make really powerful XYZs that floodgate your opponent out of the game. So it's just a very, very strong card, or cards, group of cards that really hate on the graveyard. Let's go into it. First things first, we play 2 Exosister Magnifica. This card is amazing. Basically, it has multiple effects. First effect is that this card can attack twice, which is nuts. It also has the effect where it's a quick effect banish. It also has the effect of being a detach its cost, by the way. They banish something from either, I believe, grave or field. Unless I might be mixing up the next card we talk about, which is Exosister Mikika. But she also has the effect where, because she's XYZ summon using 2 XYZs you control, you could also, she has a quick effect where you could detach 1 and stack the material that was on bottom of her on top of her, which is really, really strong. So basically what that means is that basically you return one XY, let's just say you control two XYZs, right? You control one Magnifica, or Malchus, or however you want to pronounce that, and control one of her, right? You stack them on top of her, like that, and then quick effect, after she already used her banish effect, you can send one of these cards back into the extra deck, and go like this. Aha! And then she can banish again, because she also has the effect of banish. Just a really, really strong card. She's a definitely great inclusion to the archetype. Really, really strong, and yeah. Besides her and Milicus, these two are the most important ones in the deck. There's also some really other good ones we'll get into, but these two are the very big, crucial linchpins of the whole deck. It's how you get your advantage. It's how you do everything. It's very important and very strong. Anyway, let's go on to the other effects. Alright, so we already mispronounced it like 3 times in this video, so it's time to do it a 4th time. We played 3 Exosister Milicus. I do not know how to spell this. Say this card. Milicus. It's M-I-K and then Eloquus. Michaelis. I don't know. I have no idea. Michaelis? Maybe it's Michaelis. But basically, she's the linchpin in this deck. She has amazing effects. Basically, she can be destroyed by monsters that are special summoned in the graveyard, which is strong, so they can't crash the Chaos Ruler that was reborn from the grave into her. She also has the effect where, quick effect, you can just banish a card your opponent controls or a grave, which is really, really strong. She also has the effect where you can detach one material to add a spell or trap Exosister from your deck to your hand. Basically, this is how you get your trap cards in rotation. This card is amazing. It's a very, very strong monster. And yeah, it really hates on the graveyard. The fact that it can banish from either field or grave is a very, very strong effect. And the fact that she searches the Exosister trap, which gets you into more XYZs on your opponent's turn, is a very, very fun mechanic. I think this is the first XYZ deck that plays on your opponent's turn by making XYZs. I know we had plenty of synchro decks that make synchros on your opponent's turn. Examples of that would be the new Goaty deck makes synchros on your opponent's turn. Crystons make synchros on your opponent's turn. And Psyframes, I believe, make synchros on your opponent's turn. Which are 3 really interesting archetypes. But now we finally have an XYZ deck that makes XYZs on your opponent's turn. And technically every Link deck can make Masquerade and Link Summon on your opponent's turn too. Now it's time to go on to the other Exosister, the ones that we kind of forget about, but are still really crucial to the deck. First things first, we play 2... God, the hardest part of this video isn't even their effects, it's just reading their names. What the hell is that supposed to be? A Spoffy? It's supposed to be Sophie, I think, but there's an A in there. Who cares? Basically, as effectively good, can't be destroyed by activating card effects from special monsters from the graveyard. So, like, this one couldn't be destroyed by battle, I believe. This one can't be destroyed by card effects from monsters special from the graveyard. And then, basically, it has the effect where, basically, you only use this effect once per turn. This card is XYZ using Exosister monster material. Neither player can activate cards from their graveyard this turn. Detach one material, target one monster they will choose return to the hand. This card is amazing. It not only locks them out of the graveyard when it's XYZ summoned, which is nuts. You summon this thing on your opponent's turn, they're gonna be like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I revolve on the graveyard, and this fucking card just turned off the graveyard. Yeah, this card's amazing. I almost want to put this as 3 of. It's that great. It also, like I said, it's a compulse. This one, these 2 banish. This one compulses. Arguably, banish is better, but against, like, let's say you're going against branded, compulsing their stuff is actually better. They have a Marigate on field. You don't want to banish it. You want to compulse it. This card's very, very strong. It's definitely a good 2 of. I almost want to bump it up to 3 and take and maybe play one of the other 2. But I thought 2 was fine. You definitely go into her more, but compulse is just really, really strong. Next, we played 2 Exosister cast spell. I love it. The one you played the least of is the one that I understand how to say the most. Cast spell. Basically, her gimmick is that they can't be destroyed by battle with monsters that are special for the graveyard, so she shares the effect with her. And she also has the effect where basically you can only use each effect once a turn. If you have XYZ Exosister as material, then basically what she does is that you can add one Exosister monster from your deck to your hand, which is really, really cool. It's how you get more Marfas in rotation. This is a very, very strong card. But it's not as good as the other ones. As you can see, this one literally adds a spell and trap and banishes. This one's like a double banish, and it's just really, really strong. And then this one's literally locks out Grave, and it's a compulse. So adding an Exorcism monster is okay, but it's not a bad card overall. It's still a good 2 of. It's alright. Next, we play 2 Exosister. For the last Exosister XYZs, we play 2 Exosister. I feel like I should pronounce this, but I can't. Gribrine? Grib, G-I-B, and then Rhine. Gribrine. Whatever, man. I think they're German. Who knows? Castel is that one. I don't know how to pronounce any of them, but Magnifica. But basically, what this card does is it can't be destroyed by card effects from special monsters from the grave. So they all kind of flip-flop on their effects. And then it also has the effect where, basically, if it has material there, XYZ, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of the turn. You detach this card. Rest of the turn, all XYZ monsters gain 800 attack. Now, this one's even better than Castel, but because basically not only is it just a target one monster on the field and negate it, but it gives all Exosisters 800 boosts, which is nuts. And it helps you clear bigger monsters. Because obviously notice, all the Exosisters are kind of small. The biggest one is Magnifica, and she's 2,800. So it's kind of hard for this deck to clear bigger monsters. So that's why you definitely play 2 Gribline. Not only because it, like I said, targets a monster on the field and negates it, but that just the fact it gives you an 800 boost is very important. And that is it for the XYZs when it comes to the Exosisters. Now it's time for the personal flex choices, which should be very quick to go through. Basically, playing 1, number 42, Babushka. Worst case scenario, you just gotta make a Babushka. Now, Babushka isn't that great this format. Yes, it hurts Splight into your elements, but against decks like Mathmech, they're literally all link-based, or Salamangrates, or Agnister, which is a really good rogue deck. Basically, all link decks. They have a link out. They'll out this card and just keep extending. This card is good, but it has its vulnerabilities. Basically, as long as this card's in defense mode for 2 turns, you basically lock your opponent from special summoning anything. Because if they special summon it, it'll be negated and it'll be in defense mode, which is really good. And because it does not activate, you can't like negate it with like a boil sword or something, because it's just continuous, which is nuts. Very, very strong card. More spell and trap removal. We played Tornado Dragon. Very, very strong card. Now, Castel should not be in here. I'm not going to lie to you. Castel is the one card I'll take out. Castel is basically literally the Compulse Girl, but worse. This is supposed to be another Zeus. You're supposed to be playing 2 Zeus, but we only have 1. I didn't want to take the Zeus out of a different deck, so I just was like, you know what? For this deck profile, we'll just play 1 Castel because it's not a bad card. But we literally have an in-archetype Castel. That's way better because it literally is not only an in-archetype Castel, but it literally locks out the graveyard. But Castel is still an iffy one of. Again, this is supposed to be Zeus. Zeus 2. We play 2 Zeus in this deck. Literally our whole extra deck is XYZs. Yes, our XYZs, yes, when we do Exosister effects, we are locked into Exosisters, which kind of sucks, but if you can just get 2 level 4s on the field, go into an XYZ, don't use this effect, and just Zeus your opponent, which has happened. Zeus is just a really, really strong card. It's like, why not play Zeus, right? Yes, you're locked to the Exosisters rest of the turn with a lot of these effects, but it's Zeus. You're an XYZ deck, you gotta play. I honestly think 2 of is pretty good. Maybe, you know what, instead of Castel, if you only want to play 1 Zeus because you lock yourself with Exosisters too quickly, I would play another of this girl. The Compulse that literally locks you out of graveyard. I honestly probably play 3 of her, and instead of the Castel. And then that'll be it. And then the other 2 are 2-0s. That makes more sense to me. And then, again, Babushka, last option, Tornado Dragon, Spell and Trap Removal, and then Zeus is Zeus, which is really, really strong. And that is it for the extra deck. I hope you all enjoyed. Don't do anything stupid. I'm going on vacation, so I probably won't be posting another video till Monday. So you all take care, and I hope you guys enjoyed Exosisters for this new format. Bye.